Here's a scenario for you. At 0400 hours, a large-scale internet outage begins sweeping across the United States. Within minutes, payment networks stop processing, ATMs go offline, banking apps fail to connect, and card terminals are rendered useless. By hour 2, nearly 45 states are affected by this outage, and there's no clear timeline for restoration. Government statements are generic and amount to, we're working on it. You're now right in the middle of a non-kinetic financial grid failure environment. This is where guerrilla-style financial resilience becomes the difference between calm and chaos. All right, so we framed the conversation and set the stage. So let's get right into financing guerrilla operations. And this is going to be a major component of your overall preparedness picture. We're talking about cash, hard assets, and financial resilience. So let's first talk about liquidity. And we're talking about immediate access funds. Why is that important? So we don't have to rely on banks, credit, and digital systems or other third parties for approval for withdrawals. A lot of you guys probably been to the bank before, and if you take out over a certain threshold of money, especially in cash specifically, there's lots of questions that come along with that. So that puts you in the mindset of, well, if you can't access your stuff without jumping through multiple hoops and going through all these different processes, then do you really own it? And that's a legitimate concern and a valid question. So let's go a little bit deeper into this and talk about peacetime money versus crisis money. So peacetime money is going to be your normal everyday life. That's going to be things like checking accounts, savings accounts, retirement, investments, digital payments, debit cards, cash app, things like that. A lot of stuff that we rely on daily, and it provides a lot of convenience for us in daily life. Great for paying bills, long-term growth, future planning, etc. But it's less than suitable for a rapidly developing crisis, grid or infrastructure failures, emergency displacement, and talk about peacetime money and everyday systems, because we can be pretty much certain that these things will disappear when normalcy is interrupted. Even if it's temporary or short term, we still need a plan for it. We still have to take this stuff into consideration. So crisis money is for when the music stops. This is what's going to matter when chaos erupts. Things like cash and assorted bills. We got a little bit of cash laying here. Just got some $20 bills. We can look at things such as silver. Got some 1 ounce Buffalo rounds here. We can talk about gold as well. This is a great way to store value and preserve wealth. This is a 1/10 ounce coin. And then also other items such as fuel, tools, firearms, ammunition, reliable vehicles, and especially hard skills. Maybe you're good at gardening. Maybe you're handy at carpentry. Maybe you're good with animals, chickens, livestock, etc. These things will all be important. And you could even make the case that they're pretty important now. At the end of the day, guys, these types of things are going to be important, especially in the event of some sort of a catastrophic emergency. And it doesn't even have to be something that's necessarily a Hollywood film worthy occurrence. It could be you just needing to relocate your family and loved ones to another area temporarily because of a chemical spill in your town. You got to have cash. You need to be able to have access to money in order to do that. So most experts tend to agree that you need to have some sort of a emergency fund. And there's different schools of thought when it comes to that. But as a baseline, I think it's safe to say maybe $1,000 if you can swing it, right? Everybody's situation is going to be different. But the idea of having this is going to fall under a 3-tier system for a civilian defender's emergency fund structure. And that's going to be tier 1, your immediate cash reserve. This is going to be stored at home, stored in a safe location, maybe multiple locations. You can get creative with some of this stuff as well. And you want to have a variation of bills, small bills up to larger bills as well, in my opinion, because things happen and the systems that we rely on, they sometimes don't work for us. We saw that with Hurricane Helene last year, where had large scale power outages in my area. And I saw fuel lines all the way down the highway, people trying to line up for gas at the only station that was open for miles because they had a large generator on site. And this was after several days without power. So this is definitely something that can happen. It has happened, and it more than likely will happen again. It could be due to a natural disaster. It could be due to some sort of terrorist attack, cyber attack, any number of ways we could find ourselves in these types of situations going forward, guys. So this cash will provide you a 72-hour lifeline in the immediate aftermath of one of these types of events. And again, the amounts can vary. It's totally dependent on what your situation is currently. Then we can look at tier 2, which is going to be hard assets. And this is going to be things like silver. And you could have junk silver, which is like old constitutional silver, which is essentially coins that have been taken out of circulation for the most part, but they actually contained real precious metals, silver. And then you got things like what I have here, 1-ounce silver rounds. These will be useful potentially for barter or trade in one of these scenarios. And then you could look at gold as being a way for you to transport and store a larger amount of wealth with a much smaller footprint, especially when you compare gold to silver and the way that stuff tends to value out currently. And then we can look at tier 3, which is going to be our contingency tier. That's going to be things like fuel on hand, available, where you can access it immediately. Water, a way to filter water and treat it. Batteries, tools, livestock, spare vehicle parts, radios, firearms, ammunition. You may not be able to get what you need when you need it. We've seen this before. So we got to take those lessons and learn from and go forward with that information. These things will become functional currency. That's just how it is. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys, and this is something that I want to talk about because historically we've seen that in long-term outages or essential service interruptions, a whole lot of people will have limited or no access to their money or other hard assets, So the time for you to decide and position yourself for these future occurrences is right now, guys. If you like this kind of content, be sure to interact with the video, hit the like, feel free to share it as you see fit. And if you feel like I earned a subscription, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well. And go ahead and hop in the comment section and let's get the conversation going. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you next time.